tonight. My name is Marty Cheddar. Marty Cheddar, the local history librarian. Thank you for joining us this evening to honor George Altman in his professional baseball career. And it's also a life journey. Mr. Altman grew up during an era of segregation as a local kid and found his way through mentorship, determination, and perseverance to play at the highest level. And that's why we're here tonight to celebrate. To get to the major league level is extremely difficult. To level only play 9 years and then 8 in a foreign, different culture, which not many people could do. And on that note, that's a very powerful narrative that is important to our community. So, a little bit of background about our Baseball Heritage Project before we jump into the program. The National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown, New York, researches the history of the game as it focuses on American culture. And so we're using that same model, but focused on Wayne County. So we're developing a really great archive in our local history collection. We'll have ongoing public programs like this, and it'll be an ongoing project. The second big project that the library is doing is documenting agriculture, along in partnership with the Cooperative Extension. Both baseball and agriculture are very important to our county heritage, which we'll document, and it'll be really fun to explore these different themes through the future years. I want to extend appreciation to the Friends of the Library for funding this program, for George Altman for his interest and willingness to come back and share his story with us, and then to Dillard, Goldsboro, Alumni Association, and Friends for access to their archive. Lastly, really quick, in the middle of your program, and we'll get a few more printed, apologize we ran out, but in the middle of the program is a short evaluation. We just ask before you leave to please turn that in to us so we can continue providing high caliber local history programs at the Wayne County Public Library. Enjoy the evening.
Don't let anyone say that it's just a game, for I've seen other teams and it's never the same. When you're born in Chicago, you're blessed and you're healed. The first time you walk into Wrigley Field, our heroes wear pinstripes, heroes in blue. Give us the chance to feel like heroes too. Forever we'll win, and if we should lose, we know someday we'll go all the way. Yeah, someday we'll go all the way. We are one with the Cubs we're in love. Yeah, hold our head high as the underdogs. We are not fair weather, but foul weather fans. Like brothers in arms in the streets and the stands. There's magic in the ivy and the old scoreboard. The same when I stared at as a kid keeping score. In a world full of greed, I could never want more. And someday we'll go all the way. Yeah, 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 someday we'll go all the way. And here's to the men and the legends we've known, teaching us faith and giving us hope. United we stand and united we'll fall. Down to our knees the day we win it all. Yeah, Ernie May said, oh, let's play two. Or did he mean 200 years? In the same ballpark, a diamond our jewel, the home of our joy and our tears. Keeping traditions and wishes made new, a place where our grandfathers' fathers they grew. A spiritual feeling if I ever knew. And if you ain't been, I am sorry for you. And when the day fast when it running. I'm crying and covered in beer. I look to the sky and know I was right to think someday we'll go all the way. Yeah, 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 someday we'll go all the way. Oh, someday we'll go all the way. Yeah, someday we'll go all the way. Yeah, someday we'll go all the way.
1, strike 2. One and 2. Over 33,000 throats responding on every pitch. Watch it. Fastball. There's a well-hit ball deep to right. It is caught by Altman. Oh, brother. Woo! Man. Sawatsky gave that one a very good ride, and George Altman went all the way back to the right field wall and made a one-handed grab. That's the best ball they've hit on him yet. Now here is Crow. Watch it. There's a drive on the line to left field. Come on, Moose. He did it. He did it. Moran made a fabulous catch. It's a no-hitter. A no-hitter. And what a catch that Moran made. Oh, brother, what a catch he made. They're swarming all over him down there.
In 1962, WGN Television was vitally involved when Telstar, the communications satellite, first sent TV across the Atlantic.
Today we begin to speak in many tongues, and a group of our fellow correspondents are now narrating to you in 6 languages. We in television are convinced that the ability to portray immediacy, to realize what's new, what's going on, is the true significance of this new communications bridge. These first 18 minutes will attempt to show you a few of the things that are going on right now on the North American continent. I'm Walter Cronkite. Here is Chet Huntley.
Good evening, Europe. We had intended to take you at this time to Washington, where the President's weekly news conference is about to begin. But because of early acquisition at Andover, we got the Telstar circuit early, and the President has not yet started. So suppose we take you to a baseball game in Chicago instead.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just been informed that this baseball game is being seen in Europe right now over the Telstar satellite. Let's give all the baseball fans in Europe a big hello from Chicago.
No score in the ball game. This point, the Phillies, no runs, 1 hit, no errors. The Cubs, no runs, 2 hits, no errors.
Well, we realize that all of this doesn't make much sense to you folks in Europe, but if we hadn't shown you a bit of our national game on this first transatlantic show, we'd never have heard the end of it. As a matter of fact, right now, our colleagues who are doing the translating are going crazy trying to say runs, hits, and errors in Swedish and Italian. In any case, here it is, a brief glimpse of American baseball played in the biggest arena in the world. All the way from Wrigley Field in Chicago to the Coliseum in...
walked out on it. This is the season of content for baseball fans. Tomorrow the league playoffs begin between the New York Mets and the Cincinnati Reds in the National League, and the Baltimore Orioles and the Oakland Athletics in the American League. In Japan, where baseball is also big, the playoffs will be held later this month. Some transplanted Americans are among the stars in Japan. Irv Chapman has details on that story.
Batting second, playing first base, Jim Lefevre. Batting fourth, playing left field, George Altman. On the mound facing them, Yoshiki Toda. No, this is not Wrigley Field or Dodger Stadium. This is Kyoto, Japan. Lefevre and Altman are 2 of 20 American ball players who've been able to prolong their well-paid careers in what's called here Beisuboro. Japanese teams are sponsored by major corporations. Fever and Altman play for the Lotte Orions, owned by Japan's biggest candy company. Baseball's been part of Japan for 100 years, and the fans eat it up. But for the American players, there's been a lot to readjust to.
Well, it's just the whole country, more or less. It's very small in comparison to the United States. Taxes are small, the chairs are small, the people are small, and it just took a readjustment as to size, especially for me, being 6'4", around 200 pounds.
How about the training routine, the drill? How does that differ? Well, Irv, it's quite a bit different than you might say in the States. After spring training, in the States, we more or less are up to ourselves, to get ourselves ready prepare ourselves for a ball game. Here, they prepare themselves as a team. Sometimes we'll come out maybe an hour before before batting practice, just to run and stretch and run and stretch and run and stretch. It seems at times to be very, hard and overdoing it, you might say, but they believe in it, so it's considerably tougher than you might say in the States.
You work pretty hard.
Yes, we do. Sometimes we play 9 innings before the game starts.
How about the brand of medical treatment?
They don't have drugs per se, like painkillers. Here they have a guy who performs acupuncture, and every time you have a headache or a sore muscle or aches and pains, he sticks a needle in there.
After Kyoto, the team moved on to play the Taiheiyo Lions. And the Fever proved he's still earning his yen, playing a familiar game in this unfamiliar place. This is Irv Chapman, ABC News, Kyoto.
Today in Japan, the Orions lost the last game of their season and finished second. Howard will have tonight's comment in a moment.
Today's guest conductor for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, former Chicago Cub George Altman.
Top 5. It's great to be back in Chicago. So, okay, here we go. Let me hear you. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back and it's root for the Cubbies. And if they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's win this game.
Good segue to get into the meat of the program. Next we have Al King, Mayor Al King, who grew up in Mount Olive, played baseball in sports athletics at Carver High School. Same class as George, and he's going to make a few remarks.
Yes. I was a year behind George. I remember that very well. Because I was glad to see George leave. I was a 4-year start in basketball at Carver. And this guy was the silent assassin. I'm serious. I played against baseball too. I thought he was really going to play basketball more than baseball. Because in basketball, 6'5" in those days, those guys, it was a job for them to walk and chew gum at the same time. This guy was agile, and oh my God, George, I was glad to see you leave. But, I haven't seen him since 1951, and I remember it well because the next year I had a little more freedom, and I didn't have Big George to have to deal with. Sampson was another little guy on my side. He was awesome. I just asked about Sampson. Those are the 2 guys from Dillard that I remember most. In baseball, well, he was the same thing, but size didn't make that much difference then. But I knew the guy could have played anything he wanted to play, and I'm honored to be a part of this evening. to welcome you back to your home, your hometown. I grew up in Mount Olive, but I've changed. I'm now in Goldsboro, and I'm keeping it safe for you and keeping it good because I don't want Big George to come back. No, I want to come back, but don't be upset. I did talk to Big George about it. Where's your cousin?
Oh, yeah, here.
There he is. We were in, and I'll sit down after this. We were in, I think, AutoZone one Saturday morning, and I didn't know his cousin. We were talking about something, and for some reason, George's name came up. And I said, oh my God, yeah, I played baseball and basketball against that guy. He said, really? I said, where is he? He said, want to talk to him? He whipped out his phone. Here he is. And there's Big George. I'm talking to him. Hadn't seen him, talked to him, but I followed him all these years. So, George, welcome home.
Let me just say this is a real honor, and for a number of reasons. My dad, who many of you do, he was a big baseball fan. He grew up in, my dad practiced law here many years before me. He grew up in Washington, D.C. Grew up selling peanuts at Griffith Stadium, and he would always say, if I could have been anything other than a lawyer, it would have been a second baseman. I mean, he loved baseball and watched many a game with him. The other thing, obviously, I'm born here in Goldsboro back a few years ago, and Mr. Altman is just the hero of all of us who grew up at that time period. Not because he was in trouble, but he had a little matter I helped him with, he called me about, and we discussed a few years ago. That was a real thrill, and now an even bigger thrill that I get to be here with you this evening. And I think it was acknowledged, Mr. Barnes, his cousin, enjoyed getting to know him today. Marty and I went out with George and Thomas and had a big time. So, Marty asked me to kind of get the ball rolling, no pun intended. I guess start at the beginning. How about that? We're celebrating Goldsboro, Wayne County, and baseball heritage. And you grew up here. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that played into your sports and all?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out. It's thrilled to be here and to see so many of my cousins, relatives, and friends. And particularly Mayor Al, who played against, giving me a tribute, but he probably exaggerated a little bit.
No, I didn't.
It was great just to play sports back then because there were so many other obstacles that we were facing, and sports was definitely a beast, especially because of the fact that we had to work in the tobacco fields and the cotton picking beans. And that truck come by and we get on that truck and go out and work in the hot sun and so forth. And that let me know that I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. So anything else that I went into, I went in wholehearted, trying to make sure I was going to get away from that environment. But it's just great to come back here and see so many young people. We're all young at heart.
Now, many of you may know about this book, and it's George Altman, My Baseball Journey from the Negro Leagues to the Majors and Beyond. But it's a great story, and we're going to talk about some of those things. We had an opportunity at lunch. One of the things pointed out in the book, a lot of guys would like to make the majors, like Mayor King maybe, but they couldn't hit a curveball. And I enjoyed reading about how you, when you were playing and enjoying just recreation and having fun, you would hit bottle caps with a broomstick. That kind of helps you be able to hit a curveball.
Yes, those bottle caps really, really curve. So most of the time in baseball, you get rookies in spring training and so forth, you know, they're doing very well. They said most of the time they write a letter home to mom and say, Mom, I'm doing great, but I'll be home soon. They're starting to throw curveballs. Another thing too, we use paper sacks and potatoes from the pantry as a baseball. And when you throw that thing and it hits that paper sack, man, you feel like we were really firing that ball. You know? It boosted our confidence. We said, I have a great arm, and that pow, pow. So that was improvisation. So in those days, you had to improvise. You make do with what you had. And that's one of the things we try to talk to the kids today, to make do with what you have. You know, don't be discouraged because you don't have this. Just go out and do the best you can with what you have.
And you got some good memories of Dillard and all. I think you shared one today with me. You said during the World Series, the principal would put the World Series on the intercom, and y'all could hear what was going on. But you had a lot of good friends and mentors along the way in sports at Dillard.
Yes, Coach E.A. Hulse, who was a basketball, football, and baseball coach. And, then there was George, you might remember George Buttermilk Wilson. Buttermilk was one of our mentors, and he was a mailman. It was and Coach Bland, who was assistant coach. In those days, Coach Hulse and Coach Wilson, mostly Coach Hulse, was kind of tough, you know. I mean, those days they might hit you with a board or something to get you going. Can't do that today. It was a photo day. The team was supposed to take pictures. So they called the team off in the middle of practice, and in the middle of batting practice, and had the team take pictures. So I was standing by the cage in the batting practice pitcher. He was standing there waiting for them to come back. So I told him, come on, pitch, throw the ball. So he started pitching, and I started hitting. And I don't know what happened that day. I guess I was just sharp. I was hitting balls over the fence, up against the fence, and all this kind of thing. And the players on the sideline were hollering, woo! They were on this other outfield. Oh, this guy's going to take your job. And sure enough, the manager sidled up beside me and said, okay, so tomorrow you come down and practice with the big guys. So that's how I got a chance. I had a good spring and was voted Rookie of the Year. They tore up my AAA contract and gave me an Major League contract. You have to be in the right place at the right time.
But you got to seize the moment. Sound like you seized it. And I guess we can all say there's people out in Hollywood that say they've seen The Natural. We're talking to The Natural right here.
Well, not so much. You know, I probably should have done better, but I was always so intense and everything, and ended up with some injuries, and I had to play with a lot of injuries. And in those days, the managers and the front office and so forth, you could not, I mean, we didn't have agents, so you had to deal with them. So it was either do what they say or go home. So a lot of times I had those injuries, and I knew I shouldn't have been playing, but I was out there. So I think I could have had a much better. Some guy told me, he said afterwards, he said you should have been an all-star, you know. But it was a matter of fact that just played in the wrong circumstances a lot of times. I apologize to you that I didn't do better for that.
We're going to get to this, but remember, he was an all-star. Hit a home run in an all-star game, so, you know, his record speaks for itself. Thank you. Talking about signing with the Cubs, I hear the Wrigley's had a special kind of signing bonus they gave you, right?
I'll pack a chewing gum.
That was mighty nice.
They signed 3 of us, Lou Johnson, J.C. Hartman, and myself, all major leagues, and a couple of bags of chewing gum, that's it.
Okay. Now, you had, as I recall in your book, your first major league game was Don Drysdale pitching?
Yes, Don Drysdale. He was a guy like to pitch inside, especially the rookies. First pitch, he hit me on the thigh. Welcome to the major league.
And I think it was snowing that day too, wasn't it?
It was snowing cold, I'm telling you that. Windy and cold. Boy, that really hurt, but I didn't come out of the game. I stayed in. Got a couple of dribbling hits, but they were hits, nevertheless.
Right. While we're talking about, I see Mr. Jarrett out here. He's a big Dodger fan, but there was another pitcher, a great pitcher with the Dodgers at that time, right?
Sandy Koufax. Yeah. Yep. Hard throwing left-hander. Curveball out of sight. So nobody wanted to hit against him.
And
I was out that night with my college teammate, and we stayed out. I was staying out kind of late, and I came back in, and the coach, I think his coach saw me, and I think they wanted to punish me because normally when a left-hander of that stature is pitching, you know, they don't put many left-handed hitters in the game to hit against them. But they threw me in there against Sandy Koufax that night. And I don't know what happened. He was throwing where I was swinging. I got lucky and hit 2 home runs.
2 home runs against Sandy Koufax. As they say, no brag, just fact. No other left-handed hitter ever hit 2 off of him in a game.
That's right.
Well, probably not many right-handed.
One other right-hander, Felipe O'Neill.
Okay.
I also got 3 hits of him when I was offering him on a play with his Cardinals, too.
So you played with the Cubs, and you had really 2 stands with the Cubs. Your first major league team went to the Cardinals a year, went to the Mets a year, and then came back to the Cubs.
Yes.
And you were in 3 All-Star games, right?
Yes.
And
with the Cubs, played with Leo DeRocha. He was a tough, hard-nosed manager. And I tell you a story down in Houston. I mean, it's hot, you know, muggy and everything, and ball players were coming in complaining, "Boy, it's really hot out there, hot out there." So Leo got tired of it. He said, "The next guy here complain, I'm going to fine him $500. $500, that's almost 2 weeks of month's salary, you know." So shortly after, one of the ball players come in and said, "Boy, it's really hot out there." And Leo shot him a look and he said, "Just like I like it."
So anyway, you played with some great players. Of course, the great Ernie Banks just passed away recently. You told me you went to his funeral, and
Great player.
just a great guy. Loved the game. And played against a lot of great players too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to show you, I'm kind of bringing it into the present day. I asked Mr. Altman, you know, like when he hit 2 off Sandy Koufax, I made the comment, you know, you see these guys now, they strut around, they glare down at the pitcher or whatever. I said, you do any of that? He said, no, you didn't do that. You ran the bases because if you next at bat, you might catch one in the ear. But
even if you swing hard, you know, a lot of times they would get intimidated and they throw at you, you know. And like Bob Gibson, sometimes players digging in at the plate like that. The next pitch is they jump out of there. Next time they got in there in a hurry, you know.
You played outfield in your career, and we saw some of your great catches. I think I heard the mayor ask you if you remember that one, the Telstar game. You remember that and the excitement all about that?
Oh yes, that was a big thrill because that went all over the world, and it was publicized all over the world. So it was a big thrill to be the guy. It was only just that play, that one play, to make the play. So
got to be in the right place at the right time. And then I'm watching that clip about the no-hitter. George made that great catch, but he was almost more excited seeing his buddy make that last out.
Oh yeah, most more. Yeah, great.
He said, "Here it comes. He's gonna make a great one."
Yeah.
So just transitioning a little bit, we want to leave room for some questions. You went over and played in Japan, as we saw that clip. Tell us a little bit about how that was getting used to it.
Well, you know, my problem in the major league, big problem was staying healthy. I ended up with pulled muscles, and I think a lot of it was as a result of all that basketball at Tennessee State. We were gym rats, and we played, and we were running and jumping all the time, so I had knee problems and things like that. But I had a lot of injuries in the United States. I thought I was in tip-top shape, but evidently when I went to Japan, they showed me that I wasn't. We had training, I call it kamikaze training. Up and down hills, running. We take hour, like Lefebvre said, hour and a half, getting ready to practice. Practice 2 times a day and everything. And they got me in shape. So that was good for me. It wasn't good for some of the other guys because they hated it. We didn't have many American players that stay over there too long. Most of them stayed 1 or 2 years. I played over there 8 years.
Did a couple hundred home runs, over 200.
And some of the things that you saw over there, you wouldn't believe in baseball. They were telling me about a story of foreign players, the manager, bases, there was men on second base, first and second base, and the manager sent it was a crucial game, the manager sent the interpreter out there and told the guy, I said, the manager says, if you think you're going to hit no double play, you have his permission to strike out.
You told me how there was definitely some home cooking, wasn't there, with the way they would kind of make sure that the Japanese players got the big awards or won the awards?
Oh yeah, they were American players. That strike zone was way out there. And the Japanese pitch was called a heavy corner. But that wasn't heavy corner, that was way heavy down the street. I got a bat that was like 37 inches long, and I got it up close to the plate. And I remember Willie Mays used to, when the pitchers throw close to him, I mean, he just fell out like like he was being hit, and the umpire, would call it a ball because, it was a close pitch, but they called it a ball because of his reaction. So I started doing that in Japan. I would just fall all out. They stopped calling it. So, normally, I would just raise my arm and the pitch would go up under there. Right! So I got smart. So you have to improvise. You have to.
Of course, in downplaying a lot of his success, and we don't have time to go through all of them. I saw one year you led the National League in triples, with 12 triples, and those are kind of hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I learned to run pretty good for Murder for the Community. I had speed, I could run.
But outstanding career, you know, we also talked about, even as a kid, you were pretty competitive, right? Back here in Goldsboro.
Everybody play up the green leaf at the playground. Marbles, homemade, horseshoes. Matter of fact, I'm still playing horseshoes in a horseshoe league now, competing. Yeah, we have about 15 minutes from my house. We have the National Horseshoe Hall of Fame there. We have indoor, outdoor courts and tournaments, and people come from all over the country to play tournaments. And I participate in tournaments there, so I'm still competing.
And that was after what, about 20 years of playing racquetball?
Racquetball, yeah.
Very successful career in that.
Yeah, we played racquetball and all that.
I know when we talked, one thing you really wanted to make a point of saying was your work. If you haven't got this book, it's really good, and you actually see a rap song that George wrote, having to do with trying to convince young people to not be involved in the easy life or the drug life. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
All right, I'll only tell you, I'll do the song. It went like this. Say, booze and drugs are twin disease. They will bring you to your knees. If you want to go places in your life, you must get away from booze, drugs, and strife. Put them down, put them down, put them down, put them down, put them down. I had a friend, John, he was a fool, said he didn't have to stay in school. All his pals were dealing in crack. I said, John, boy, you better come back. Put them down, put them down, put them down, put them down, put them down. Now, John wanted to be rich real fast, knowing all the time would never last. Though he was young, he was good with the ladies, rode around town in a big Mercedes. Just last week, it all came to a head. Gang warfare, and friend John was dead. His funeral was the biggest in town. The last thing he said, what did it? Put him down.
You've seen a lot of kids looking up to you over this great career, and I know you're talking from the heart. You want people to be successful and do it the right way.
Yes. Believe in yourself. You can do it. You know, all you have to do is work a little hard and study and get as much education as you can, but also stay out of the streets and stay away from drugs and alcohol. And choose your friends carefully. I did some mentorship work at the local high school in Jefferson City, Missouri. And one of my kids was only 16 years old, and he came in from California, so he thought he was a little over the other kids in Jeff City, so he ran around with 3 adults. And they got in trouble. They were accused of trying to abort a fetus with antifreezing cocaine. And in the trial, a couple of the adults only got 6 years, 20 years. They gave this kid 30 years. So that was all from choosing the wrong crowd, wrong people. So choose your friends carefully.
Well, when you luckily were a little more mature than some of the rookies or first times in the major leagues, but you had a lot of folks, I guess, they were wanting to drink and go out and do a lot of things, and you just kept your eye on the prize, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Because I knew about the cotton fields.
One last thing, I think it's important that you live in Jefferson City, and they recently, when they had the All-Star game in Kansas City, they had kind of a reunion of the Negro League players, and I think there were 7 living Negro League players that were also all-stars of the major leagues, and Mr. Altman was one. I think that shows what an incredible life you've had. All right, how about a few questions?
Dad, I was forced to be a Cub fan by my dad. You batted left.
Yes.
But you threw right. Was that a conversion? Was something, what caused that? And the other thing, that's the question. Another thing, thank you for acknowledging Buck O'Neil. First baseman, 289 batting average out of Florida. I think you was 269 lifetime average.
Didn't have any mentorship or anything like that. But after watching Stan Musial and Ted Williams and everything, I went to the regular grip, and I found out that that was more natural than the crosshead that I was using.
So, and the throwing right, was that a natural?
That's just natural.
And you mentioned Ted Williams. I think you said it was early in your major league career, both Ty Cobb and Ted Williams saw you play and told the papers you looked like you had some promise to you.
Yeah, they gave me a very favorable report, and I think the manager was listening to those favors.
Got another question? Okay.
George, Nihongo wa karimasu ka? The question is, how did you handle the language when you first went to Japan? Was that a problem for you?
Yeah, well, it wasn't too much of a problem because we stayed mostly around the Western style hotels and they spoke English. But I also took a course in Berlitz before I went over there. And I wanted to prepare myself. Didn't do me much good, but they would speak so fast. But after a while, the players wanted to learn English, and I wanted to learn Japanese. So after a while, I was able to learn a bit more.
Well, imagine if Mayor King was calling you Big George, they really called you Big George.
Oh, yeah. They used to come look over.
Is there one of them this way? Question?
I was going to ask about the language, which you sort of addressed, but did you pick up any other language when you were in Panama or in Cuba as well?
Oh, yes. Spanish.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Altman, Jerry Johnson. I'm an umpire. Did you ever have any umpires missing any calls on you? You were some of the umpires in your time with Olga Donatelli?
Oh, yeah.
Shag Crawford?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Harry Reynolds was just coming up when you were probably going out.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, the biggest was the day that the senator, what's his name? The Detroit pitcher, and the senator pitched a no-hitter against the Nets. Money. So I still had a little injury that day. So they sent me up to pinch hit. And one of the first pitch, I don't know if it was the first, second, third pitch, I hit the ball down the right field line, almost went out on the right field. The next pitch, he threw it a foot outside, and one of your guys called me out.
You want to let it go with it? That's the way you make history.
Jerry's made the North Carolina Hall of Fame as an umpire.
Congratulations.
Great having him.
He didn't miss any of it.
Give him a hand.
He bought as many pairs of eyeglasses as he was told to get. All right. Who else has got a question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I right, George? I know you, George. You used to come around my house when I was a boy. On Zero Street.
Oh, yeah, on Zero
Street. Am I right, in 1961, you made an all-star team, but you didn't start. But you pitch hit and hit a home run.
Oh, yeah.
Is that true?
Against Mike Cornelius, he's a Cuban pitcher, and I was familiar with him in Cuba. And I knew he was a curveball pitcher. And there was that curveball. So, first pitch, he threw me a curveball. Bye.
There those bottle caps again. That's awesome. I know Marty wants us to have time to mingle, and we've got a cake back there, but how about 2 more questions if we got them? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Mr. Altman, you were in the Army. Now, I know everybody in the Army's got 2 occupations. Besides playing ball, what else did you have to do?
Play basketball.
Throughout your career, you met a lot of people. Who were you most in awe of that you met throughout your, I guess, lifetime?
Oh, there's so many others. The player that I most admire was Willie Mays. This guy had all kinds of talent. Nick Aaron wasn't too far behind. That's right. Willie Mays.
Yes, sir. How about this be the last one?
There's a picture of you with Roberto Clemente. Any stories about Roberto?
He was a superstar. The strongest arm you ever seen. I remember one time that I hit a single to right field, and I ran third base kind of casually, you know. And next thing I know, I hear the ball whistling back by my head. And he almost threw me out from right field. And I said, uh-oh. Then on, I didn't run against him.
You and Roberto Clemente were in kind of a batting title race there for a while?
Oh, that might be the 61.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can I present you with a gift, Mr. Altman?
Oh, please.
Yes, sir.
Come on out.
This is from Web Day.
This is the artist right here, Guy Simmons.
Some good come out of West Town. Hicks and those guys when they were rough.
Want to take one more question, Marty? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here's one back here.
Not a question, just a comment. Got my Dillard Middle School baseball shirt on here, Mr. Altman. 13 months ago, I was helping my friend practice out there at the middle school team. And we started having a discussion. And I said, I never feel like Mr. Altman got his due. He's probably the best baseball player to ever come out of Wayne County. Possibly. But, you know, in my opinion, I think so. And I don't know if the gentleman's here tonight or not, but he said, I grew up with George Altman. He's a good friend of mine. And he put me on the phone with Mr. Altman this beautiful spring day out there on the Dillard Middle School field out on John Street. And we had like a 15-minute conversation, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing. And you can see how humble.
That would be my cousin Tom standing I was a baseball player also, but he unfortunately didn't come up with an arm injury, but he was a good pitcher also.
So we got. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man.
I would like to know what the best remembrance you have of our old couple, Mr. A.
He was tough, but he was fair. And what I remember most about him was he was a good academician. When I didn't realize the kind of quality education that we were getting at Dillard High School. I went to college and competed against other kids here, you know. And I just realized what a good job Professor Brown was doing over there, bringing in quality teachers and that, and stressing, you know, education, and no nonsense. And he was a patriot too, because he had us doing close order drills. Boys, you know, he had us out once a week, you know, doing close order drills, getting us ready for service. Yeah.
Before we wrap, I do want to point out we have another local major leaguer here in the auditorium. Marion Towton played with the A's. Where is Mr. Towton?
Right here.
Right there. He told some great stories last year. Marty's been working on this program a couple years. I just want to say this, Mr. Altman. I don't know what the rest of the country was doing tonight, but nobody was having a better time than we were right here.